When it comes to moving out, there's two types of people. People that just wing it and people that plan for it.
Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Phillip.
And we teach you what you need to know about being a grown-up.
Because adulting shouldn't suck. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click that bell so you get the notifications when we put out some new videos. And the comments below, let us know if you plan on moving out of state.
In this video, we're going to cover the top 10 things you need to do before and after you move out of state. From finding a job, to finding a place to live, to how much money you need to save up before you move. We're going to cover it all.
So let's get it started.
First off, you're going to want to research where you want to live. Nothing beats getting eyes on a place. Just like how I went to Arizona before I moved there, you always want to go visit a place in person if you can. And if you can't, if you know anybody that lives there, you got friends or family or a coworker that lives down there or whatever, if you work remotely, have somebody check out the area and FaceTime you so you can get somewhat of an idea of what it looks like or some kind of feeling of where you want to move and what those communities are like. Great example of that is my old neighbor in Washington thought he wanted to move to Florida with his family. They talked about it for the last year and a half. The beaches, the warm weather, what it was going to be like in their new life. And then they went down there finally. The alligators. The Florida man. Oh. But they finally went down there. And they hated it. It was not what they thought it was going to be. It was not the kind of community they thought it was going to be. It was way too many old people, and it was way too slow. But his brother-in-law that lived there loves it. So it wasn't a problem. But when they went there, it did not work. So there's no substitute for seeing it with your own eyes. Other things you want to check out for the research before you move down there is what are the commute times like from the area that you want to live in. It's one thing to see it on Google Maps. It's another thing to actually find out like how far these things are and how much time and traffic goes into these commutes, whether it's for school or work or whatever, to go shopping. Are you going to live outside the city and you have to travel into the city, or are you living in the city and it's super busy with traffic all the time? I don't know. But those are things you're going to want to look up before you move. A good hack to find out what the commuting time is going to be like is put in where you think you might live, that area, and then where you might work or might go to school, and then put those travel times or those travel distances in during different times of the day. So if you're going to be commuting at 8 or 9 a.m., max traffic time, it's a lot different than if you put that in at like noon or 5 p.m. So be realistic of when you're going to be commuting and find out. I know back when I used to live in Portland, it would take me almost an hour and a half to go 7 miles from my office to my house, and it drove me nuts. It was actually faster to ride my bike. Safety first. That should always be your top priority. Find out what the crime rates are like. Go to spotcrime.com, and it'll tell you all the different kinds of crime that happen in that community, and it goes by zip code. So if you want to find out, how much burglary or theft or violent crime or whatever is in those neighborhoods, spotcrime.com. Definitely where you want to go and check that out.
In addition to spot crime, you're going to want to check familywatchdog.us. This is going to show you where all the sex offenders are in the area that you're trying to move into. You're not going to want to go move into a place if you're living in the same area as a sex offender or right next door to a sex offender. I mean, especially if you're living alone or if you have kids, the environment that you're going to be in is a super big deal. Safety first, always.
The second one is check the cost of living where you want to live. It might be more expensive. It might be cheaper to live there, but you don't know until you go and actually find out and check it. So there's a great calculator from bankrate.com. We put a link in the description below, so check it out when you're doing your research. So on the example that we have right here, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. Let's say I made $50,000 a year and I wanted to move to San Diego, California. In order to have the same standard of living I have here for $50,000 a year, I would have to make $75,000 a year to have the same standard of living based on how freaking expensive it is in California.
Mm-hmm. Number 3, figuring out your job situation. If you're moving for a new job, congratulations.
High five.
High five. Transferring or moving because you're transferring to a new job is also pretty cool. Or maybe you're working remotely and you're not bound to a specific location like you were, so you can just move. Or Maybe you don't have a job and you need to find one. Our advice, start looking for that job before you move because it's super important to get to that new place and have money coming in.
Number 4 is figuring out your moving options. This is going to be the most expensive part of moving, go figure, and the most time consuming when it comes to figuring out how are you going to do it. These are pretty much your only options when you're moving out of state. You can hire professionals to come over to your house and pack everything up. That is absolutely the most expensive way to do it. You can rent a U-Haul or a Penske or whatever kind of moving truck you can get your hands on and do it that way. Maybe bribe your friends with some pizza and beer to help you load it up, but then you got to figure out how to unload it yourself, or maybe you got friends wherever you're going, whenever you get there. You can rent a storage pod or whatever other company has those things where you can load them up and then they put them on the back of a flatbed and then they take it to wherever you're going to go and then you still got to unpack it. But that's cheaper than renting a truck or paying for people to come pack all your stuff and move it. And then the last one, I don't know what kind of stuff you have or however old you are, but you can always sell all your stuff, load whatever you have into your car, and then buy new stuff when you get there. That is definitely the cheapest way to go. But once again, I don't know what kind of stuff you have, but if you're moving cross state or cross country and out of state, that is by far the cheapest way to go. When I moved to Vegas for college, I learned this lesson the hard way. I rented a U-Haul and I loaded all my stuff up into there, and I also had to rent a trailer and then tow my car from Washington down to Nevada. And between the cost of the rental for the U-Haul, the gas, everything else involved, I think it was like $2,000. And when I got there, I realized, oh, that's stupid. I don't even have $2,000 worth of stuff. Yeah. So then when I left, I just sold everything and then fit what I could in my car, and I drove home after I graduated.
Your budget and personal needs are going to determine your moving options. If you have a lot of money, hiring professional movers is probably going to be your easiest option. Here are a few questions you should be asking yourself when you're moving out of state. You should be asking yourself, what's my budget? Do I feel comfortable driving a big truck long distance? Am I going to need to store my stuff in my old or new city? Am I going to be able to load things on my own time? How much time do I need to move my stuff from one place to another? How much stuff am I moving? Do I have any friends to help me load or unload my stuff? And do I need to hire people to help me load or unload my stuff once I get there? Remember, before you move, you're going to want to sell as much stuff as you possibly can and pack and move with as little as possible. Because the less stuff you have to move, the easier it's going to be.
Pro tip, if you're moving for a job, ask them if they cover moving expenses. If they do, it could save you a ton of money. I did that with my last move, and they covered it, which was not expected, but it was a great surprise, and I 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Number 5, your emergency fund. Maybe you hit some really nasty weather on your drive to the new state that you're going to go live in, and now you have to stay in some strange city for a few extra days than you had originally planned. Or maybe you're on that drive and your car breaks down and you're going to have to pay for it. Having an emergency fund for this type of stuff is super important.
I mean, that's the whole point of the emergency fund.
100%. You have to have money for when life decides to roundhouse kick you in the face. Because it's going to happen. It's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. And if you're going on these long drives to move across country, it's a really good idea to have a cash emergency fund on you while you're doing this drive. Maybe you go out somewhere in BFE and they don't have ATMs or they don't accept certain forms of payment or their card readers down. Having cash is super helpful, and it could be an emergency saver if you had the cash on hand.
Did you know the last time I went through New Mexico, they didn't accept debit cards? Like, they were that backwards.
Word.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Number 6 is get rid of stuff. Anything that you don't use, get rid of it before you move. You don't want to haul that with you. So if it doesn't bring you some kind of joy or happiness, you don't use it very often, you probably didn't need it in the first place. You can, if you have time, you can sell it on Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or whatever, or maybe you can donate it if it's in decent condition. If you're like me, I'm just impatient. I usually just throw it away, to be honest. I probably could have donated a lot of the stuff in my life and helped people out, but I just hate clutter. Usually I'm just quick to throw it away. So be better than me. Donate it or sell it if you got the time.
Number 7, you gotta pack. Don't be like Alex and underestimate the importance of having to pack. Him and his wife decided to do it a week before they wanted to move. It was chaos. We showed up to help them pack stuff up, and they were still packing stuff up into boxes. We're like, yo, we're supposed to be taking the stuff in the truck, not sticking it into boxes right now.
I hate when people do that.
It was
and
ridiculous.
I did it.
And he did it. And I was like, bro, I'm not going to help you lift anything. But
Until
I
it's packed.
anyways. Yeah. The prep for packing is almost just important as packing it itself. I mean, you want to make sure that you have all of the boxes that you need and the boxes in the right sizes. You obviously want to have tape and some sort of marker so you can label your boxes. You want to have padding so you can wrap the fragile stuff so it's not getting broken inside of the boxes and all that stuff. It's really going to help the process go a lot smoother and a lot easier. And you know how I knew he was getting old, middle-aged, and Caucasian? He bought all of his boxes. It's ridiculous.
Whoa,
So
dude.
expensive.
They're 75 cents a box. It was not that expensive.
It sounds expensive. I have always used free boxes when I moved and garbage bags. But maybe the next time I move, maybe I'll go and buy my boxes. Who knows? We'll see. Pro tip, when you're packing your stuff and if you're being on top of the game and you're getting started early, remember to keep your essentials easily accessible. Because if you pack them and you need them, then you have to go digging through boxes to find them. And even once you get there, the same thing. You want to be able to find your essential stuff that you need right away fast. So make sure you stick those in the truck last so they come out first, all that type of stuff. And obviously label the box correctly.
Toothbrush, personal hygiene stuff, changing underwear, some toilet paper. Number 8 is get the utilities in your name. Now, a lot of places, you can't set this stuff up before you get there, but it's already going to be on. And depending on your lease or your contract that you sign, you might have like 3 days to get it transferred over into your name. You might have up to a week, but that's something you got to do once you get there in order to keep the power on and get your internet access and all that good stuff.
If you don't switch it into your name in like 3 days or a week or however long you have, they're going to shut it off. I have a funny story about this. So my buddy Shyler and he was my first roommate, and we had moved on, and this was a few years later, but I was coming back from a deployment. He was coming back from Japan, and we had a house in Vegas, and we just got the keys for it. We showed up on a Friday, but in Vegas, they lock the water meters for a house that's vacant, so people can't go in there and like use the house all willy-nilly when it's not in anybody's name. So we got there on Friday, and the water company wasn't able to come and cut the lock on the water meter or to take it off. So we had to go the whole weekend without any water in the house. So we went to the store, and we had gotten these 1-gallon jugs of water, and we were like, okay, it's going to take 1 gallon of water to flush the toilet, 1 gallon of water we can drink, and we had to like pretty much ration the water in the house so we could figure out what we were going to do for the weekend until they can come out on Monday and cut the lock off. So, yeah.
So definitely figure out what the situation is like before you get there, or I guess get some bolt cutters.
Yeah. But maybe not, because then maybe the city will fine you like super big amounts of money or something crazy.
Yeah. That's bad advice. Don't do that last one.
Number 9, change your vehicle registration and driver's license. One of the first things you're going to want to do after you get moved is to update your driver's license and your vehicle registration. You're going to have to check and see what it is for your state, because it could be different everywhere. It might be 10 days you have to change it. You might have 30 days. It all depends. But if you don't do it within that time frame, when you do go to update it, you're going to have to pay a fine. Don't be like Alex, where it takes him 6 months to figure this stuff out.
Whoa, dude. I was busy, but I never got fined.
Busy. Don't forget to update your address with your insurance policy too. You might save a little bit of money, or you might have to pay a little more. It all depends.
Dude, I pay $40 a month more in Phoenix because the accidents here are crazy. Everybody freaking speeds, so instead of just getting like a fender bender, your car is totaled.
straight explodes, which is crazy because there's no trees here or like obscurations on the driving roads. It's literally flat desert as far as the eye can see. So why are there so many accidents out here? Blows my mind.
Because people drive like twice the speed limit.
Yeah.
And blow through stop signs and stoplights. Lastly, you're going to want to update your address and register to vote. So when you move out of state, you can submit a permanent change of address form online with USPS.gov. And that's going to send all your address or all your mail from your old address to your new address. That's going to expire after a year. So I wouldn't wait that long. I would immediately go on and update my address with every bill that I have too, whether it's your cell phone or Netflix or whatever. You got to update your address with your bank too, because if it doesn't match and you're using your debit card online for Amazon or whatever, and you put in your new address and it doesn't match your old address, your payment's not going to go through. Depending on the state, when you go to the post office, you'll also have the option to register to vote in that state. And if not, you can most likely do it at the DMV when you get your new license.
Oh, yeah. So there you have it. There's our 10 things to consider when you're moving out of state. Don't forget to check out our free downloadable checklist for your first apartment called the First Apartment Checklist. And don't forget to check out the After You Move Out checklist so you have that awesome checklist to use when you're walking through your new place. Those links are going to be in the description below, so check them out. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. In the comments below, let us know which one of these steps you found most helpful.
And we'll see you in the next video.